So when I was reading the lesson on the gospel or preparation for the service, one of the things that stuck out to me was the part where it talks about how Adam is born or was created from the Virgin of the Earth and the Spirit, and that piece there reminded me of the bit in the service. It's on page 3 or 4. Yeah, it's on the bottom of page 3. Mistake not if you cry to the heavens, for a voice from out of the earth cries, why do you neglect me? If you bow to the earth, for a voice from out of the heavenly mansions cries, why do you linger? Return to your home. For worship is in the vastness, and our service is in eternity. And I think it's interesting that that piece specifically talks about the spirit and the earth, and how when Jesus was came to earth, that he was born of a virgin to mimic or reflect the creation of Adam with the combination of the spirit and the earth. And I think it's important because it's easy, at least for me, it's really easy to focus on the spiritual and kind of forget the physical material reality. I'm sure for other people it's the reverse. But I think the balance in all things, spiritual included, is a combination of both the physical and the spiritual. It reminds me of a guy I knew when I went to school in England for a year, who was an occultist, and he kept his occult notes with his physics notes for his classes, because he discovered that when he kept them all in the same notebook, that they ended up relating to each other. And I think a lot of times, if we focus on one and not the other, we end up with half a picture. And one can definitely inform the other. Like, for instance, this week I've been doing a bunch of cleaning. It's been really overdue because I'm kind of a pack rat. And in getting my space more organized and less cluttered, my mind is clear. It's also easier for me to find stuff, both spiritual stuff that I need, and also like, stuff like my hammer, and it also reminds me of, there's a Buddhist saying about how after enlightenment, before enlightenment, chop wood and carry wood, and after you do the same thing. It's also a way of balancing the ego, because, well, the archons are the embodiment of the ego, and so having your life balanced out so that things work in together makes it easier for the ego to not run off with something. And the other interesting thing that I discovered about my ego is that there's the one version which is like, I'm better than everything, and then there's the other side of the ego, which is I'm worse than everything. And it took me a long time to realize the second one was also the ego, it's just the other side of that. And that's something that I have to watch out for, because that one, the second one for me, is really insidious, and I forget that it's just my ego talking, and it's not real. And the ego has its place. It's just that it's easy for it to get either over or underinflated and run off of that. And like with everything else, when one thing is unbalanced, it ends up unbalancing everything else around it. Just like if you need to rebalance your life, like I've been doing this week, if you balance one thing out, it tends to balance out other unrelated things. Like, for instance, yesterday, I did a spiritual practice that I hadn't done in over a year. And like, I couldn't have like predicted that, but I cleared up this one thing, which ended up clearing up this other thing that seemingly had nothing to do with each other. But Sometimes that's just how we make it. So with that, may the lady walk with me.